going to go to Victoria, British Columbia with Josh. Hey, Josh, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you doing today?
Good. What's going on?
Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, you sound great. What's up?
Awesome. So I'm 21 and I make just over 100,000 right now and sort of on track to be doubling that within a few years. And at my age, I find that my girlfriend, brothers, friends and such, they're not necessarily at the same place as me with their finances. And whenever we go out and do things, I find that sometimes I get anxious about maybe where they're at financially, or is what I'm asking them to go do things, is that going to inflate their lifestyle? Because I know what it took for me to get where I am, and I don't necessarily want to be the influence that's making them spend more money than they can. And for me, I'm more than happy to pay for them and be able to take them on trips when I want to go do things with them, because for me, spending time with them is more important than thinking about the $1,000 or a couple $100 that it takes to take them out and do that. I want to make sure that I'm not, I don't want to be putting them down in any way by making them feel like they don't have the money to do that. And I also I don't necessarily want to inflate their lifestyle to a point where then if for some reason I don't pay for a trip, then they're going into debt because they have never learned to save for that.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if you have any tips on how to sort of navigate that.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I want to commend you on a couple things. Number one, you're making a killer income at a very young age, so way to go. Second of all, I love just how considerate you are, Josh. The fact that you're asking this question shows what just a good guy you are. You're looking out for your friends from a financial standpoint, but also from just their feelings and how they feel about things, which is really, really cool. That's really, really impressive. A couple things I would say, and George, you hop in here, but here's just off the top of my head. Number one, I would definitely make you paying for them the exception, not the rule. Because if it becomes a pattern, then you start to feel pressure too, and then there's this weird dynamic where they expect it, then that's going to put a real weird dynamic on your friendship that you don't want. So I would say default to everybody pays for their own thing. And when you ask them to do something, you can say up front, like, hey guys, I was thinking about doing this. What do y'all think? And if they say like, oh, I don't really have the money right now, whatever, cool, you can back off. Or if they do, then they're grown-ups and you can't be responsible for their financial choices because you invited them to a party and they made a bad decision to attend. You're not managing their bank accounts. So let's start with a clear boundary there. But when you do pay for something, I would throw in one piece of advice here. When you do pay for something, I would try to pay for it as discreetly as possible. And again, this is the exception, not the rule. So let's say, for example, you guys are all out to dinner and you just want to pay for the dinner and drinks and stuff. You might, go to the restroom, grab the server and say, hey, here's my card. Let me cover this. And when the server comes back, they're like, what happened? I just wanted to get it. This was fun. And don't make a thing of it. If you make a thing of it, then it becomes this thing that like you're the guy that pays for the things. And then it tilts the room of like you're the guy that like is paying for everything. And yeah, extra bottles of wine on Josh. It doesn't have to be like that. Like I would handle it super discreetly when you do it, which is a really cool move that you are a generous guy and willing to do that. But I think that's just going to protect the friendship so that they don't feel in debt to you if it's the exception, not the rule. And when you do it discreetly. That's what came to mind for me. Yeah. George, what would you add?
No, that's spot on. And on top of that, I would just say having that that line of communication where you're saying, hey, what is the budget? What can you guys afford? I'm happy to match that so that we can make this happen. I think that's awesome. But there's also a lot of things you can do that don't cost a lot of money. So don't always make it a thing where, hey, we're taking big lavish trips, big lavish dinners. Make it just a chill thing where we all split some pizzas and that they pay their fair share, because I think that gives them dignity too. And I think that's what you're worried about. You don't want to take away their dignity and be showy and they all of a sudden go, wow, this guy, he's really something and he wants us to know it. And I think that's where Christy's heart is as far as the kind of the discreetly doing this stuff. And my brother's that way. He's super generous and he's always the guy that sneaks over and gets the server, pays for it. And we're all like, whoa, dude, what the heck? He's like, I just makes it easy. Yeah, it makes it easy. Don't have to split the bill.
Yeah.
And he's just a super sweet, generous guy. And I feel like that's your heart, Josh. What I don't want it to come across as is pride.
Yeah.
Where it's just look at me and I feel your heart behind that. You don't want it to be that way. So find things that are cheap, that don't cost a lot of money, and do that stuff too.
Yeah, I think if you have a good mix of that, if you have a good mix of cheap stuff that everybody contributes to, maybe some nicer things that everybody contributes to, and then every now and then you get the tab on something, or even if, let's say it was a concert or something and you knew everybody was free or everybody wanted to go and you're like, hey guys, I was able to get tickets, let's go. And then it's not this weird thing of like them watching you pay for it and it's a big show. I think just the more under the radar that you can keep that that transaction that will maintain some of their dignity, but you still get to do what you want to do, which is be generous, and you still get to be with your friends and share with them, and they get to participate in some of that stuff. But man, Josh, you're an awesome guy. You're a really awesome guy. Thanks for calling. Thanks for thinking of your friends and thinking of how that would affect them. And yeah, I think that if you do it that way, it will come across in the right way. But just know that if you got in the habit of just paying for things all the time, it does tilt the room, and that's not what you want. So I love George's advice of just do some stuff that they can afford. Hey, what's the budget? You know, when me and all my friends, we're grown women, but when we get together to go on a girls trip, we'll say like, where do we want to stay? What's the budget? Because regardless of your income level, you should have a budget and you should have a plan for your money. And so it's a great way to open up the conversation where they get to speak into it and you guys can plan that event or that outing together.
I saw recently, this guy had a spreadsheet, and him and his friends, they have very different incomes.
Yeah.
Some are broke, some make hundreds of thousands of dollars. And they have a spreadsheet, and it shows what your budget is for these trips, who can make what, and there's no judgment. There's none of this like, well, you make this, we're going on a bougie trip. They just go, all right, I'm broke, I'm not going on that trip.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
And they have fun with it. So I thought that was a cool idea.
Yeah. Transparency and communication. That's good.